There we go. And here we go. I'm Joe Wasowski, Food Access Director at the Michigan Farmers Market Association. Today we are talking about food assistance programs as your session for the Market Manager Certificate Program. I'm sure there's things I'm supposed to be reading, reminders for you, but I, of course, forgot to pull those up. There will be a quiz at the end of this, so just take notes, and I've made the questions pretty easy. So we'll do those or you'll be able to do those as normal. And I'll be able to get that up and running shortly after the session is over this evening. I'm very excited to bring to you two other Food Access MIFMA staff members. Kiki and Ashley will be presenting today. There's a reason I don't present this one, and it's because I have way too many stories and it would take far too long. So we did hand it over to some very qualified individuals, but also ones that are a little more concise than I am. So with that, Kiki, I am going to mute myself, and let you take it away.
Thank you, Joe. He said he don't present this. He haven't presented this in years. It's been my PowerPoint for a while, guys. But it is great to see you all again. My name is Kiki Griffin. I am the Food Access Coordinator here at MIFA, and we will be learning all about Food Assistance Program. Just before we get started, this is a lot of information. So if something that you don't understand or if you need me to repeat something, please just put it into the chat and I will be more than happy to or hold questions to the end, and we can definitely go through all these programs a bit more detail as you guys need to. And my email is going to be on the slides as well. So if there's something you don't understand, just shoot me an email. Alrighty, let's go, Joe. So we are going to start off with what is a food assistance program? So these programs that provide benefits to help with food budget of families and individuals that is in need to purchase these foods and move towards self-sufficiency. All right, so the food assistance program that we will be talking about today is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, known as SNAP or maybe EBT. Have you guys heard of it? Another word is the Bridge Card. You have then the Double Up Food Bucks program as well, which is under the SNAP. So you have to have SNAP in order to have Double Up Food Bucks program at your market. And the Double Up Food Bucks program are mainly for farmers markets and farm stands and in a few grocery stores as well, but not big grocery stores. Then you have the WIC EBT program known as Women, Infant, and Children. And then they have a mini program that calls WIC Produce Connection. I like to call WIC Produce Connection the mini program of WIC CBB just because that WIC Produce Connection is, again, only something that you can be accepted with farmers. So that WIC Produce Connection benefits that you see, no one can go to the grocery store and spend those benefits. It can only be spent with growers or farmers. You then have the Senior Project Fresh. And just like with Produce Connection, those benefits can only be spent with farmers. You cannot take those benefits and go to a grocery store and spend them. And then we have the Produce Prescription Program, which I'm not that knowledgeable in it, but Ashley is wonderful at that. And that's who's going to present that part of that product. So next slide, Joe. Alrighty, so why should farmers market accept food assistance benefit? Why is it useful to you? Well, one, it's increase your sales, right? That's a main part of it as well. You get more customers into your market and increase those sales. It also expand food access. If you're a market manager and you in this world, your main goal probably is to expand that food access to your community. And food assistance program does just that. You also have marketing opportunities as well as, again, expand your customer base as well. So get that diversity into your market as well. You should. There you go, Jonas. Alrighty. So you may have seen this guide so many times and all over the place. If you went to the in-person event, you may have a copy of this eligibility guide as well. This eligibility guide is what Joe calls his baby. It comes in three different and he also has a son, guys, by the way, too, as well. So, but he calls this eligibility guide his baby. It comes in three different languages. All eligible food assistance benefits are listed here as well. with including each currency. So you see a copy of the British card, you see the tokens of the double up program, as well as the currency that happens with WIC and Senior. This guide is great for training staff and vendors, as well as a helpful guide for customers to understand what they can and cannot purchase. Next slide, Joe. Alrighty, so let's start with SNAP. So again, this is formerly known as food stamps or EBT card. You may hear different names depending on who you speak with, like the customer you are speaking with, or just the area that you are in within Michigan. This has a retailer application. It's like a government application online. It's very detailed and has a lot of different information in there that you have to fill out. So it's very important that you pay attention to the questions that it's asking you and try to answer with your best ability. We always use the saying that it's okay to put no or the number zero if it's acceptable. And we're going to get more into that. Joe, next slide. All righty. So how do you start accepting SNAP at your market? So that detailed application, that would be the first step. You would fill out that FNS SNAP retailer application about creating an account, going in there. It takes about an hour to complete, 30 minutes to an hour to complete. We always say use a tablet, not tablet, use a computer or a laptop of some sort. So it's you have a bigger screen, better than doing if you was doing it on your phone or a tablet. There are documents that you're going to have to submit, such as your ID, your social security card, um, ownership of the market, or just like to say that you are the person who will be filling out this application. The next step, once you get approved for the application, which can vary and take up to about a month to 3 months, depending on how busy FNS is. The next step will be obtaining a point of sale device. MIFA does has a program which I will get more into about how you can get a point of sale device for free. Um, then the next step will be designing a redemption system. So designing a system that works for your market. We will talk about those systems as well, but every market is different, and therefore your redemption system may look a little different than other markets. Develop accounting and management practices. And then last but not least is to, of course, promote it. You can't just sign up for a program and think things is going to happen without promoting it. So the next point is promote, which we also have awesome materials as well to use for promotion that Myth offer. All right, communicate with market vendors and stakeholders. Oh, my bad. Go ahead. Communicate with community partners as well. All right, go ahead, Joe. All right, so the redemption system that we were talking about. So let's start off with a customer decides to come to your market and spend $20 at the market. So they are going to come with you with that bridge card, that EBT orange card, and comes to your either your welcome desk, your farmer desk, your market manager desk, and just come up to you, hey, I have this $20 and I want to use and spend at the market. You then would take that card, swipe it on that point of sale device, and then in return you will give them $20 in tokens or scripts, whichever thing you usually use. But wooden tokens seems to be the most popular with market managers. So you will give, and we do it in either $1 increments or $5 increments, and then you will give them $20 worth. They then would take that $20 and use it to purchase food from the vendors that accept SNAP. So you can have a vendor agreement formed between you and your produce vendors or your baked good vendors, and then if they sign up for that, make sure they have a signage at their vendor that they accept SNAP, and they can spend those tokens with those vendors. But then vendors then collect those tokens and then turn them back into the market, and the market reimburse vendors for that token sale. Some markets do this daily, some of the markets do these monthly. For reimbursements, really up to you and how your system works, how your market works. And also if you're involved in any other programs, which we will talk more about. Go ahead, Joe. Alrighty, so what can I buy with the Birch card at the market? So again, this is where the eligibility guide come in at, which is very, very helpful for customers. So what I like to say is almost anything. The rules at a farmer's market are the same as a grocery store. So anything that you can get at a grocery store and they sell it at a farmer's market, you can get that. So of course, fruits and vegetables. If you have a meat vendor, dairies, eggs, baked goods, sausage, jam, jelly, fruit-bearing plants. However, what you cannot buy, again, you cannot buy hot prepared foods. You cannot buy things such as like wine or hard cider, anything that we like to say, anything that is made for eating right there on the spot, you cannot buy. So something that you may not have at the market, but it's very easy to explain is like ice cream. So ice cream cone you cannot buy with a bridge card. However, if you have a tub of ice cream that you had in your freezer and you're selling that tub of ice cream, you can sell that with the bridge card. Or you had an ice cream vendor that has a tub of ice cream. Who knows? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. And then just other non-food items. So cut flour, soap, lotion, cutting boards, things like that of that nature you cannot buy with the bridge card. Alrighty. Um, so just some interesting facts. These are data from July. So just again, so to really get into your head, like why is it important that I accept SNAP benefits at my market? 1 in 7 people in Michigan receive SNAP benefits. 1.41 million people receive about 256.5 million in Michigan during the month of July of 2025. So again, some facts. $183 average monthly for a meal for household members. $2.1 average SNAP benefits per meal. And 72% of SNAP participants are families with children. So that's over 542,000 children are in this household in Michigan. So some common SNAP questions that we see a lot from customers. What if I don't know how much I want to spend? So we always like to give our customers the option. Look around first. Look around the market, see what you like, see what you want to buy, make a list, and then come back with a number. And always remember and let them know that if they take out not enough, that they can always come back. And that if they take out too much, that these tokens does not expire and they can come back your next market day and respend these tokens then as well. What if I don't use all my tokens for script today? Can I use it someplace else? Again, let them know these tokens does not expire. So you can say they can come back and spend it. Your Snap tokens are currencies that you got made, right? Those wooden tokens, you got that made. Those wooden tokens will have your market on there, or that wooden token should have your market name on there. So they cannot spend those tokens or those Snap dollars at another market. They can only be spent at your market. Can I receive a refund back from tokens I don't spend? The answer is yes. However, this get a little more complicated when you bring in double up food bucks part of it, but we will talk about that a little bit more later. But you can also tell them like, yes, you can get a refund back. But again, very, very nice to remind them these tokens do not expire. You can come back next week when I'm open again and spend these tokens as well. But they have to, of course, show you the tokens before you give them a refund and make sure you keep that in your books and like the receipts as well. All right, Jen, next slide. Alrighty, so double up food bucks. So this is what we call a SNAP incentive program, which means it matches SNAP purchases for additional Michigan grown fruits and vegetables. So that customer that came and asked, can I get $20 off my bridge card? You can say, yes, of course you can. However, we also have a program called Double Up Food Bucks, and I can give you $40. So this is the customers do not need to sign up for this. It automatically triggered by the Snap Bridge card purchases. And if your market is eligible, or if you signed up for Double Up Food Bucks, you got accepted, they can get the Double Up. And Ricardo, name and information is who is really in charge of this program at Fair Food Network. And he will be more than happy to really go into details about this program with you guys as well and get more information on that. That's the sign up part. All right, next slide, Joe. So, double up food bucks and how does it work? So, the customer that came and got that $20 from you, and you gave them those $20 wooden tokens, you then would give them that $20 worth of silver tokens. These silver tokens are provided by Fairfield Network, and they are in $2 increments. So, each token is worth $2. So, you would give them 10 of that silver token, which equal 20, and they then would have $40 worth of money to spend at the market. Now, the very important things with this is that those silver tokens can only be spent on fresh fruits and vegetables. So those silver tokens, they can't go and get a brownie with those silver tokens. They can't go get cookies with those silver tokens. They have to be spent on fruits and vegetables. Next slide, Joe. So they can be earned and spent on different days. So if someone come and they want to like kind of rack up that double and they want to get 20 here and then 20 the next market day, they can keep doing that, not spend it until they want to wait until you guys have a strawberry vendor and spend all that earned double up on that strawberry vendor. They can definitely do that. Unlike the wooden tokens, these silver tokens can be spent at other markets. But that market, of course, have to have double up food bucks. And they also do not expire as well. Before we go on, I do just want to point out to some of those common questions that we asked earlier and kind of like how it changes when you implement the double up program. And that is just to keep in mind that you can also let them, when for the refund question specifically, that if they come up to you and they be like they want a refund for the SNAP tokens, you can say yes, but you will want to also ask them to give back that double up that they earn as well. As well as I like to also tell people that when they are shopping, a lot of people get confused between the eligible items for the wooden or the snap tokens versus the double up tokens. So to just let them know that that double up tokens again is only for fresh fruits and vegetables, and to spend that double up token first, and that way they don't use their wooden tokens on the fresh fruits and vegetables. They can use a silver token on that, and then if they want to purchase eggs or something else like that with the wooden tokens, that's the best method to do so. I think I saw a question about signage, and we will talk more about that too. But there are signage for the double up program that we can provide as well. Next slide. Alrighty, so WIC Produce Connection. Before we get into this program, I just want to stress out that these are growers. Only growers may sign up for these programs. So I know mainly we have market managers here. So I'm just going to touch a bit on this program and just some of the rules and changes that it went through in the last few years. But do just want to keep in mind that this is no longer a program that market managers sign up for, but your farmers, your vendors have to sign up for this program and then accept it at your market. So Michigan grown fresh fruits and vegetables and fresh herbs are the eligible food items for this. Only growers may sign up. Growers plus or the farmers must have an approved POS system, which we will talk more about as well. Vendors display provided signage, and then this program runs from June 1st to mid-November. Next slide, Joe. Alrighty, so we talked about that cash value, the cash value benefits, and then like the produce connection. So the cash value benefits are normally is on a card. It some cards still look exactly like the British card, and some don't. Some are more like a whitish card that customers or consumers have. They can spend those benefits at the grocery store. They get monthly fruits and vegetable benefits depending on their level of income and how many people they have in their household. It must be spent during that month so those benefits don't roll over. And again, it's accessible at all retailers. However, that produce connection is only available once during that growing season, and they get, I think, about $25 worth of that benefit, and that can only be spent with the farmers. Next slide, Joe. So the program grows. Provide fresh, unprepared, locally grown fruits and vegetables to WIC participant. Expand awareness use of sales at farmers markets can only be spent with farmers and at CSA programs. Nutrition no longer farmers markets can accept them though. Nutritional at-risk individual including women, pregnant, breastfeeding, and postpartum, infants over 4 months old, children up to the age 5, and then this is only distributed once a year. Next slide, Joe. All right, so just to go over the transaction real quick. So the client with card get loaded with the benefits. The card is swiped at the time of sale, and that funding is deposited into the retailer bank account or into that farmer bank account. All right, and here is just the contact information for the WIC team at MDHHS, Pam Gulf and Constance. They are wonderful people and it's just great to work with. So they will be more than happy to get farmers signed up as well. And we also provide assistance and help with the application process and just the equipment used for it as well. All right, next slide, Joe. All right, Senior Project Fresh. Very similar to WIC Produce Connection. Again, farmers market managers cannot sign up for this program. However, only the growers can. So, mission grown fruits and vegetables are the edible food items, plus honey and some fresh herbs. This program runs from June 1st to October 31st or mid-November. So program goals: provide food to low income seniors, increase excuse me, increase consumption of agriculture, develop and support new farmers markets, roadsides, and CSA programs. Can only be spent at farmers markets, farm stand, and CSA programs. So you cannot take these benefits to the grocery store. 60 years of age or older, household incomes not more than 185% of the poverty guidelines, and again, only distribute once a year. So, how to sign up? Download and create a Healthy Together account that is free for farmers to sign up for. They will apply through that Healthy Together app. And once your account has been approved, there will be a resource tab and spots to sign up for trainings. Next slide, Joe. And here is the contact information for Susie at the MDHS office as well. She's also awesome to work with and will be more than happy to help and get farmers signed up and go through more details with those two programs or with this program. Alrighty, next slide. Alrighty, so signage and outreach tool. So signage is a key part of any outreach strategy required by WIC, Senior, and the Double Up Food Bus program. Programmers, partners, and advocates inspect it, and then customers won't ask unless they see those signs. So having those signage up everywhere is very, very helpful to get those customers in and to get them to want to use their benefits at the market. All right, next slide, Joe. This is just a helpline information for SNAP. So this is very, very useful for customers that may come up to you and ask questions that, of course, is out of your control and you have no idea how it works. Believe me, you may get that question every now and then, like, well, my bridge card got cut off. How do I get it back on? Or I didn't receive my monthly benefits this month. What do I do about it? So this is just a good helpline number to advocate them to push them to. All right, next slide, Joe. Alrighty. So you heard about all these programs and you mentioned me say the words equipment, and you are probably thinking, oh, so these have costs. I have to buy this, I have to buy that, and just things like that. And we just want to let you know that MIFA does have equipment programs. So for the SNAP program, we do have no cost wireless equipment to operate SNAP. The sign up is very simple. Once you've been approved and you have an FSS number, you can just fill out this online application, and then we will walk through your application, submit in your request for equipment, and then you will receive equipment, or you will talk to somebody named Kim, and they will contact you and provide you with that equipment. With WIC, there is a subscription fee for the total paid Go subscription, as well as you have to have a Apple device to run the app on. So MIFA does provide iPads to run app, as well as we do reimbursement for the subscriptions fees as well. And we also provide any other reimbursement that comes along with running, like any cost that a farmer may run into running this program. So that's what we've been trying to do to help out to really help with this transition for farmers to be more involved in these programs. The same iPad that is used for WIC can be used for senior, or if someone decides they want to just do senior, we can provide them with the iPad for senior. The app that you run the senior program has no cost onto it, so there's no additional cost, but just making sure you have a device, which can be one on iPad and Android devices. Next slide, Joe. This is called a resource manual. This is a very, very thick PDF with very detailed information about what I really just went through, but again in more details and more application details to help sign up for it. So this is available free on our website. Show next page. Are you still confused? Because if you are, I do not blame you. So these are just a few different things that MIFA has that we can definitely help out with. Again, this email here, the foodaccess@mifa.org, is how you're going to really reach me, not Joe. So don't text me or don't email me, hey Joe, I'm not Joe. I'm the one doing this email. No, I'm just kidding. But That's how you can reach me. And if you have any questions about food access, that's definitely the best place to go. Mr. or Joe and I does help with application help. So if you are going through your application and you are just really, really confused, we can set up some time over Zoom to help walk through the application. With the Double Up program, there are trainings that happens every year. I don't have the exact date yet, but it will be in March. We have so many outreach materials. We have yard signs for SNAP. We have vendor signs for both SNAP um, and Double Up programs. We also have SNAP banners. The Legacy Binder is a very helpful resource tool, and it's help you easily keep track of everything that you would need to keep that your food assistance program in order and helping with like any logistics and legacy stuff that needs to be in there. It's very useful, helps us, and we'll make sure we drop that link for you guys to look through as well. We also have market manager meetup. Now these market manager meetup happen or they just are starting back up now. They're gonna be every fourth Wednesday at 11 o'clock. And they are over Zoom. We talk more than just food access. This is where a group of market managers get together and we have a different topic each month. And we kind of just let you guys, I like to call it, we just let you guys vent. So anything that you want to talk about, anything that's on your mind, you get to talk with other market managers as well to get ideas off of. It's very good. And if you are a new market manager, I really encourage you to at least show up to a few. Even if you don't show up to all of them, just showing up to a few really help. Last but not least, we have a spring kickoff starting March 25th, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. This was more of a one-on-one version of food access. This meeting will be a 102 version of it, where you will hear from those awesome people I mentioned in the beginning, such as Ricardo, Constance, and Susie, that will talk more about these programs or more about the updates going into these programs starting in 2026. So you are definitely more than welcome and free to join that meeting as well. And if you have any questions, they can be addressed in that meeting as well towards the end. Um, and I think that's it for me for food access before I pass it on to Ashley. Joe, I don't know if you want to do questions now or if you want to wait until then. You want to do questions now? Perfect. We can do questions now. Stephanie, I see you have your hand up.
Sorry, I couldn't find unmute. We last season received a whole bunch of wooden tokens that were from a different market. Our vendors took them, accepted them, and handed them to us. And of course, we paid our vendors because they took that money. But what do you do with those tokens? How do you work that out? I'm not as much worried about a dollar token as I am not committing fraud.
Mhm.
That's a biggie for me. So, how do we handle that?
Um, so what we have told people is to like if you did it and it's done and like of course like you reimburse your vendors for it because you don't want them to lose out on that money, but just make it be known to your vendors that next time that they can't, if it don't have your market on name on there, that they can't accept it. Most farmers and vendors are still not going to care that much because no one wants to turn a mother away from fruits and vegetables. It's kind
Right.
of how we see it. But if you see that the name on that the market name on the wooden tokens, bring it to that market. Like just take those tokens back and be like, hey, I paid for these in other words, ways, and see where the conversation go from there, I would say. Joe, if you want to add something on with that.
No, you answered it gloriously there,
Yeah.
Kiki. I do, if you do catch it before you do reimburse the farmers, checking with them if they also attend that market. And then
They
just
do.
having
Yeah.
them take it back to that market the next time they're there.
Yeah.
That's what we ended up doing because they were accepting them so regularly that when they would turn them in at the end of the night, it was like, you guys, come on. And then I actually contacted the other market to say, have you gotten any of ours? They
Mhm.
said, no, we didn't. And I said, well, I have like 7 or 8 of yours. And they're like, ooh, sucks for you.
Oh,
So I know. So I just wondered. So you're just reconfirming what I think we were doing. I don't want these farmers to miss out.
right.
I also don't want a child to miss out on some strawberries. So we'll just make it really, really clear, and I'll make sure that that's something that we really stress in um, our what do I want to say, beginning of the season meeting.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
And if they
okay, thank you.
go, yeah, and if they go to that other market, tell them to take those tokens to their other market to get the
Wow.
stuff. Yeah,
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
of
And
course.
Stephanie, another good like recommendation I know I did with some of my vendors is having a printout of like what tokens are accepted at your market and giving that to the vendor at the start of the day. Because I mean, from a vendor's perspective, they might be attending multiple markets, right? And to try to keep
Right.
clear what tokens can be accepted at what market, having just kind of that cheat sheet in front of them could also help too.
Yeah.
Well, and they look so, they're almost identical.
Mhm.
So I think really putting that, if we put that in front of them, that would be helpful, if for no other reason than just to let them know we're watching too.
Mhm.
So, okay, thank you. That's a great idea.
Mhm.
And I guess one more thing before we move on, if you happen to know which customer is doing that, having a conversation with them to kind of explain why they need to use them at the other market, um, would be
Okay.
helpful as well.
Yeah.
All right. I hadn't looked at it from that perspective. Thank you.
Yeah.
Leanne, I think you had your hand up next.
Yeah, one thing I wondered where everybody gets these tokens, if they're per their own market. And then two, when you talk about the legacy binder, is there a page in your resources that has all this that we can just print out with all these phone numbers and access, all that kind of stuff too?
Yeah.
So we don't make it ourselves?
Joe, I feel like this is more of your question. So if you want to go ahead and answer.
Yeah, so the legacy binder has a contact list for everything. So it's one list that has everybody's contact information for all the different programs. We also have a sample vendor agreement letter on our website. I can make sure that gets plugged into Canvas as well for you. And then a lot of farmers markets get their tokens printed by a company called the Wooden Token Company. They used to be based out of Texas. I think they just moved to Florida, which is odd um, to move that type of company. But as Andrew pointed out, you could do for imprint. Any of those marketing companies that print anything, they can be called tokens or tuits.
Okay.
I just
All
popped
right.
that into the chat.
Okay.
The recommendate or the requirements from FNS, and I can pull that website language for you as well, is that they're really hard um to duplicate, to counterfeit. And they want them to have your market name on them, the value of the token, and that they're only good for SNAP eligible items.
Okay. Now you confused me a little bit with one answer.
Okay?
We're supposed to be creating our own legacy binders, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
so we have templates that
okay.
of what kind of information you should have in that binder.
Okay. And what's that? Where is that?
It's on the MIFMA website.
Under resources?
Yep.
Okay.
And actually, if you just go to mifma.org/, legacy binder, that will take you to all of the different resources
Wonderful.
in there.
Thank you. Tons.
There's one, the last one on the page, because it actually was the first one that was ever made, is the food access. And all of that is tagged under like one document, but it's several pages.
Good job. Andrew, I think you had your hand up next. If you want.
Yeah, so kind of to play off what Stephanie had said, what should you do if a market vendor accepts tokens that they're not supposed to? Like I've had issues where like someone is filling in for somebody and they accept the wrong type of token. How would you recommend going about that?
Are you saying like if a baked good vendor accept double up food bucks?
Yeah, along those lines.
Okay. Again, make it very, very known that they are not supposed to. Once that is very, very known, let them know that you can't reimburse them. Um, a not approved answer, I would say, is that baked good vendor can go to a fresh fruits and veggie vendor and buy themselves a carrot. If that match. But yeah, don't I feel like don't feel bad that if they still comes up to you and they have these tokens and they are not supposed to accept these tokens, to just let them know that were not able to and they take that loss. Again, a lot of vendors I've noticed is not going to turn a kid down for a brownie. So if that's all the parent has to offer, a lot of vendors probably also okay with taking that loss.
Perfect. Thank you.
Of course. Leanne, did you have your hand up for another question, or was that just from still before?
Nope, sorry, I'll put that down.
Oh, no problem. Do we have any other questions? Did I miss anything in the chat?
I
Nope,
think we got everything I've been answering as we go along.
perfect.
Oh, one more. Okay. I think we're good.
Alrighty. Well, I will pass it on to Ashley, and Joe, you can go ahead and go to the next slide.
All right. Thanks, Kiki. And I know I presented on an MMCP webinar last week, but for those who weren't on that webinar, my name is Ashley Wenger, and I'm a programs director here at MIFMA. And tonight, I'm going to give a quick overview of another type of food assistance program that some marketplaces participate in. I'll say one that isn't quite as common as the ones that Kiki presented on earlier, but they're growing. And it's one that operates in close partnership between the healthcare and the food sector, and that's produce prescription programs. The acronym that MIFMA uses for produce prescription programs is PPR. Produce prescriptions can be a tongue twister, so you'll probably hear me saying PPR for produce prescription programs throughout this presentation. I also just want to start off saying that many produce prescription programs have different names for their specific local program. So in Michigan, we hear prescription for health, Fresh RX, fruit and vegetable prescription program, among others. So just want to say that you may have heard of produce prescription programs just referenced under a different name. But just to start quickly with a definition, produce prescriptions fall under the food as medicine umbrella, responding to the critical link between nutrition and health by integrating evidence-based food-based nutrition interventions into healthcare to not only treat but also prevent diet-related chronic disease such as diabetes or heart disease, for example. So these programs specifically focus on increasing access to and consumption of fruits and vegetables for patients facing food insecurity and diet-related chronic diseases, really with long-term goals of improving health outcomes, addressing health-related social needs, and lowering healthcare costs. And I'll say these programs are administered through partnerships, which could include healthcare providers, community-based organizations, nutrition and dietetic educators, and food retailers. So just to describe a typical flow of these programs and how they work, you can see that in the graphic on the right. But patients are screened for eligibility, and then eligible patients are referred to the program. And this step is typically done by a healthcare provider. Patients are then issued recurring prescriptions that can be used for fruits and vegetables at the program's participating food retailers. So depending on the program, this could include grocery stores or farmers markets or farm stands, etc. And then many programs also include nutrition education along with the fruit and vegetable incentive to further support that healthy behavior change. And then the final step is data collection. So participant data is typically collected before and after the program using pre and post surveys. And usually biometrics are measured, really adding to that evidence base showing the impacts these programs can have on food insecurity and health. And Joe, if you want to go to the next slide. So I'll say in recent years, we've really experienced an extensive growth in the number and size of these programs that are operating across the state. Ever since the first program started in Michigan back in 2008. And this graphic on this slide gives some numbers, providing really a glimpse into the landscape and what it currently looks like in Michigan. So there have been more than 30 programs in operation between 2017 and 2023 in more than 55 different counties in Michigan. And currently MIFMA is aware of 20 programs that are actively operating in different regions across the state. And I'll say since 2017, there's been more than 65 partnerships formed between retailers and more than 60 partnerships with healthcare, really giving you kind of just insight into the scale and reach these programs are starting to have. And Joe, next slide. But I'll say one thing that kind of sets these programs apart, and actually one of my favorite parts about produce prescriptions is that they're community driven. So they're individually built by local partnerships, and each program's model is really tailored to the community it serves, its community needs, and available community resources. So therefore, the 20 programs I mentioned on the previous slide might each have a slightly different model and different partners involved based on the community that it operates in. And I'll say these partnerships really are what's key to making produce prescription programs sustainable, as one organization can rarely do it all. So programs are frequently led and administered by community-based organizations such as a local nonprofit or a healthcare organization, but really rely on additional sectors to support the program, such as food retailers, where you all come in, where the prescriptions that these participants receive can be redeemed. However, I'll say based on the capacity of the marketplace, they could help facilitate additional aspects of the program as well, such as marketing and advertising to connect to new eligible patients. Um, some marketplaces also are a source for nutrition education, if that's something that your market offers, and so forth. And so the roles and the partners involved are really dependent on just, again, those resources available in the specific community. And I'll say this is what makes produce prescription programs different from the other food access programs that Kiki presented on. So unlike SNAP or Double Up or WIC or Senior Project Fresh, farmers or farmers markets really can't apply to just be part of a produce prescription program, as they aren't statewide. Instead, those who are interested would really need to engage with other partners in your community who either already operate a program or who are interested in operating a program, and each program must develop their own model and secure their own funding source. Because I'll say right now, the majority of programs in Michigan are individually funded with philanthropic or grant dollars. So each program is funded a little bit differently. And due to these inconsistent funding sources, I'll say that programs do struggle to continue. And one thing that MIFMA is working on through our coalitions is to actively support statewide development and growth and sustainable funding models for these programs. And so, Joe, if you want to go to the next slide. We have 3 different coalitions. The one, though, I want to talk about is our Michigan Produce Prescription Statewide Learning Network. This coalition is open for all to join, and it's our largest coalition with cross-sector attendance. And attendees at these network meetings include program implementers, but also food retail partners, funders, stakeholders, really anyone interested in the program. And the network meetings, we uplift best practices, we share, we develop and share resources together, and we work collectively to identify actions to further advance produce prescription program, including identifying and working towards policy for sustainable funding. If you already are a partner location for a program in your community or simply interested in learning more, you're welcome to join these meetings. Please send me or my colleague Bella, whose email is on this screen, and I'll add it into the chat later, an email, and we can add you to our communications list. And then I'll say, in addition to our statewide learning network, we do run 2 different coalitions as well, just further working towards identifying sustainable funding sources for these programs in Michigan. And so, Joe, if you want to go to the next slide. Here's some resources and kind of next steps. If you're new to produce prescriptions and interested in how you might be able to bring the program to your market in the future, first, I would suggest seeing if there's already a program operating in your area that you could partner with. MIFMA has a Find a PPR program feature on our website that lists, and I'll say it's a separate website than the MIFMA website, but I'll put the link in the chat. But that website lists the programs operating across the state and the geographies they serve. And so if you find a program operating in your area, we'd encourage you to reach out and see if that program may have room for a partnership with your organization. If there isn't already a program, or if the program that is isn't a great fit, you could see if you could identify organizations in your area that may be interested in starting a program along with you. Start by thinking through what organizations are in your community, including healthcare, that may have common goals and may have interest in starting a produce prescription program. Connect across these sectors to see if organizations would be willing to strategize with you and could help you bring a program to your community. And I should say, you don't need to do this alone. We have several implementation guides that we'd be willing to share with you or partners on how to get a program started. Additionally, I'd encourage you to join that statewide learning network I mentioned on the previous slide, really to, connect with others doing this work. And of course, MIFMA, we'd always be happy to meet with you and or partners, really to talk through some of the steps it takes in order to get a program started in your community. Well, Joe already included the email for me and for Bella into the chat. Thank you, Joe. Please reach out to one or both of us. We would be happy to meet with you virtually to share more. And so I think that really brings me to the end of the produce prescription section of this. Let me put those links in the chat for you as well.
We do also have one question in the chat for you.
Thanks, Joe. All right, so the question is, do produce prescriptions typically have same restrictions as SNAP, etc.? I'll say most produce prescription programs are pretty limited to just produce. So those fresh fruits and vegetables. But as I mentioned earlier, each program is community driven, so they might have different requirements in terms of what could be eligible for their incentives. Like for example, I do know that there's a program up in the UP that also allows for the addition of meats and other goods as well. And so while fruits and vegetables is like the majority of programs, some programs do tailor to meet their community needs. Any other questions on produce prescriptions? I know that was a lot between what Kiki presented and I presented tonight.
All right. Thank you, Ashley and Kiki. We've thrown a lot of information at you. So I do want to take pause for just another minute or two in case there's any questions kind of percolating, in case anything pops up. If you ever have questions about food assistance programs as well, don't forget you can reach out to foodaccess@mifma.org for support. We're happy to share all of our wonderful resources and chat with you.
So we just sent in our application and uploaded our documents for our SNAP program.
Okay.
So what do you think, besides waiting to see if we're approved, what do you think our next steps should be?
Next steps would be printing your tokens, and unfortunately you can't start the process of getting the equipment until you have that approval from FNS. So that will have to wait until you get that final approval, but getting the tokens, setting up your financial systems, and starting to educate your vendors in the market, and building those resources would be those next steps for you.
What's a reasonable amount of tokens to get?
That depends on the size of your market. I'm trying to remember there's like a typically trying to remember if it's $500 is kind of the first, or 500 tokens is the first cutoff for like price dropping. But you will be reusing. It is recommended that you reuse your SNAP tokens, since for how much you're spending for those tokens, and that's why we get wooden ones, or plastic ones if you go that direction. So you will be reusing them throughout the season. So kind of looking at the number of customers you have and the number of produce vendors you have is kind of your starting point. And also, I ran a market at one point that had quite a few meat vendors, because they have high ticket items, so that tends to increase that amount. So it's kind of art, not a science for deciding that much, and also kind of depends on your internal budget and what you can purchase. I would say, Ashley, I saw you unmute there, but like
Go ahead.
300 to 500 feels like kind of the typical starting point for most markets. And you can reorder new ones at any point.
Are they all supposed to be like $20 worth, or do they have all different increments?
No, I would recommend as a starting market that you start with just $1 increments.
Oh, one
Um,
dollar. Okay.
and then if you see a lot of usage and you're seeing um, higher purchases with certain vendors, then adding in $5 tokens is helpful as well. Because going back to that farmer, if they're buying a pack of meat, $20 and $1 tokens or $20 and $5 tokens does count a little quicker in those $5 tokens.
Yeah. And then I was just going to give the suggestion or I guess tip that some farmers do like to hold on to their tokens. Like I don't know. I think some farmers just have it in their heads that they want to wait till they have a certain amount of tokens before they turn them in for reimbursement. So as a new market and you're trying to figure out, do I have enough tokens? Just I think a friendly reminder to your farmers to turn them in each day could be helpful to make sure that to Joe's point, you're getting those tokens back so that you still have enough to be able to distribute the next market day.
Yeah. All right. We did have a question in the chat from Barb as well. Barb, I've not seen this email from Ricardo yet, but it was a topic that I talked to him about the other day. Um, so USDA FNS, Food and Nutrition Services, where the SNAP program lives, did send out a press release to all current SNAP retailers about the smart chips being added to SNAP cards and giving the expectation that um, to make sure your equipment is ready for that. So one, this is happening due to some fraud that is happening. In California specifically, it's happening nationally, but California has taken the brunt of the hit at the moment. Um, just like we used to have, or just like we've had credit card and debit card skimmers, they have those types of individuals have now decided to start going after Snap cards as well. And they have been skimming benefits and faking transactions to steal the money from Snap recipients without them knowing. So horrible situation. One of the ways to make Snap cards more secure is to use the smart chip. Just like it's being used, just like it got introduced to credit and debit cards, probably close to a decade ago now, I think. Um, the chips are only being implemented right now in California and Oklahoma. Michigan does have a bill in our legislature about adding them to the cards, along with another bill to add the recipient's face and signature, to also decrease fraud. Um, at this point, I don't see that these bills will be passed by both chambers and signed by the governor, simply because of the physical cost of doing that. Um, Adding those smart chips into the cost of the card, um, drastically increases that price. And we're looking at a multi-million dollar per year increase if they choose to go that direction. And with a budget that is under scrutiny at the moment, this is Joe speaking. I just don't see that happening. That is something that I am tracking, that MIFMA is tracking, and if that were to come through, we would let you all know. This is not something that we have an opinion on, other than Joe having an opinion on the physical cost of that. And I would rather spend that money feeding people than adding technology where I don't think the return on investment is there. Just Joe's opinion. Um, But on the flip side, I guess, or as we continue that, I have reached out to our equipment provider. The equipment that has been distributed throughout Michigan that MIFMA provides through funding from the state is already has the hardware to accept those types of chips. It, our equipment will just need a software update, which they are currently in the process of finalizing. We just don't have an actual schedule of when that software would automatically get updated to your device. So at this point, it is being worked on, but nothing for you to worry about at the moment. If you do see, because of how the Snap card operates, you we called it the bridge card throughout, or Kiki called it the bridge card throughout the presentation. You are not limited to accepting just the bridge card. If a shopper brings in a card from another state, first of all, awesome. I love looking at snap cards from other states. Hawaii has the most beautiful one that I've ever seen. And I think it's Illinois with the link card is the most boring card I've ever seen. Um, so every state names it differently, has branded it their own way, but you are totally able to accept those and provide, if you are in the Double Up Food Buck program, be able to provide them with Double Up Food Bucks as well. Mary asks a great question. Should we then be asking for ID with program use? I That's not a recommendation that MIFMA makes. If you believe there is fraud happening, I believe FNS would encourage you to make that choice. Um, but we know that oftentimes kids will bring their parents' cards to do transactions, and that happens at farmers markets as well as other retail locations. Um, so I won't tell you to do that or not do that, but make your own judgment. And that as of now, there is not a requirement to do that that I know of.
I would say, speaking of that though, something that I did not get into, but if you guys do decide to go with the double up food bucks route, there is something called you have to keep track of that, like of the match. You have to keep track of the match, and it's like reports that you would have to do. You are not allowed to copy the last four digits of the card anymore. We was using that for a tracking method, but you are not allowed to do that anymore. But what we have done is either like initials or like one like keeping number checks and stuff like that. So if you notice maybe a card that was used at your market for one person, and then like you have that muscle memory, but then you notice that it was being used for somebody else, and maybe that same day to try and get like another match, then that would be a red flag moment. But do not collect the last four or five digits of a card number. Do not even have that anywhere. But your receipt, when you have that receipt has that number on there. So just a reminder for that. So if for some reason you need to go back and look at those numbers, that is on the receipts. Any other questions about SNAP, Double Up, the Awesome Waking Senior programs?
I wondered if anybody knew of a veteran program.
There has been talks of trying to get a veteran program up and running, specifically similar to the WIC Produce Connection and Senior Project Fresh program at the national level. But the every time it gets proposed, they don't include any additional funding for the program. So it has not made a whole lot of headway. That just would mean less seniors or less WIC recipients would be able to participate as we add in the veterans. So I'm sure that like there's ways to do a local program with that, and that would be exciting. But Right now, there is nothing that we have at the state or national level.
Yeah, Stephanie, you bring up a good point. I was going to say, I think that their produce prescription programs that I talked on, um, there are some programs that might work with the VA or target veterans for their programs, or I'll say produce prescription styles programs, which I think maybe Stephanie similar to what your vouchers for veterans program is. Andrew?
Actually, I actually have a question for you. So, with our prescription for health program, in the past, we partnered with Michigan State University Extension to help run our classes. And I'm guessing that's something you've probably run into a lot this year with them losing their funding to help with those classes. Do you have any recommendations as to alternatives in order to still offer our classes in order for our patrons to get the token? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a great question, Andrew, and something that a lot of programs in Michigan are struggling with. Just for some background information for everyone else on the call, I had mentioned that for produce prescription programs, a lot partner or they provide nutrition education as well. But a lot of programs in Michigan had partnered with MSU Extension, SNAP Education to do that nutrition education. And unfortunately, funding for that for SNAP Ed was cut. Um, and so a lot of programs, Andrew, are unfortunately in the same boat as you in terms of trying to find new partnerships to provide that nutrition education. I would say check with like healthcare organizations in your area, see if they're doing any sort of um, like nutrition education through the healthcare system that you could combine your program with, for like diabetes education or other programs that therefore those participants could then get like produce prescription vouchers. Would be one idea. But yeah, it's something we have on our radar is continuing to look out for new nutrition education sources because unfortunately it's a lot of programs are struggling with that right now.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. With that, I am going to end the recording.